Here at Lot 204, we're offering an interesting archive from the last years of the Kingdom of Hawaii. William Diamond was a missionary's son, born and raised in Hawaii. He went off to fight in the Civil War as a young man, and then returned to Hawaii and became associated with Hawaii's last kings. Here we have his 1866 Cavalry Commission, signed by King Kamehameha V, and his 1883 commission as Knight Commander in the Royal Order of Hawaii, issued by King David Kalakaua, and a photograph of the Crown Palace, and 6 letters from Kalakaua to Diamond. The letters mostly discuss land deals. One of them discusses Kalakaua's mounting $52,000 personal debt. The king writes, quote, "This I calculate to pay out of the crown land receipts which will be pledged for the purpose of paying the amount which will take 4 years. This amount is a little more than I expected it to be." Here's Lot 214, the classic 1787 edition of the Notes on the State of Virginia, the only full-length book Thomas Jefferson ever published in his lifetime. He had printed up a small handful of a private edition of this work for distribution to a few friends in 1785, which was then followed by a French edition, but this is considered the first edition in English. It includes a map of the country between Albemarle Sound and Lake Erie in unusually good condition. The book is probably most often remembered today for Jefferson's comments on slavery and race relations, which were pessimistic at best. Here is Lot 242, a manuscript journal kept by an unknown observer during the Great Awakening in 1741. If you're interested in religion in colonial America, the Great Awakening is sort of like the rough equivalent of the Summer of Love. While the excitement of the religious revival was cresting, this author was on the scene going to sermons all over the Boston area and in Maine, taking notes on sermons by 9 different preachers. One of the ministers who he heard repeatedly was Joseph Emerson, the great-grandfather of Ralph Waldo Emerson and an important figure in his own right. You see here a typical page titled Malden lectured by Mr. Emerson, May 20, 1741, with detailed notes on the day's sermon. The importance of this volume isn't any one individual, it's more of an important time and place captured by an anonymous chronicler who wanted to record it for posterity. Here we have Lot 279, a presentation display from shortly after work began on the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel in 1941. It was designed as the largest underwater vehicular tunnel in the United States and remains so today. On the top part of the image, we see an overhead plan of the tunnel's route from the southern tip of Manhattan on the left to Brooklyn on the right. On the bottom are elevations of the tunnel's twin tubes, showing their projected path through river, silt, and bedrock. And then to the right are 2 small tunnel cross-sections with 1941 cars passing through. This display is quite striking. It's more than 5 feet long. It's in beautiful condition. It's one item that everybody stops as they pass by to ask, what is that? It could end up either with a serious historian of modern New York, or it would look lovely framed in a restaurant in Brooklyn or in Battery Park. Again, we will find out where this ends up on June 5th. Lot 294. This is a curious volume titled Maclise's Gallery of Photographic Portraits of the Senators, Representatives, and Delegates of the 35th Congress. It consists almost entirely of 293 salted paper prints of the members of the U.S. Congress from 1859. It's easy to forget that in 1859, even America's leaders didn't know for sure that war was coming, and the South and the North were still linked together in this uneasy partnership. This volume gives a really vivid sense of that dynamic. Congress was filled with future leaders of the Confederacy and the Union. Here we have on one side Jefferson Davis, the future Confederate president. On the other side we have both of Lincoln's VPs, Hannibal Hamlin and Andrew Johnson. So this volume is not just a Civil War curio, it's also a significant work in the history of photography. It was one of the earliest photographically illustrated books published in the United States, and probably the only one before the Civil War with so many photographs. We found only 3 other copies recorded in libraries, so it was not produced in large numbers. Lot 361 is an important first edition by Noah Webster, titled A Grammatical Institute of the English Language, Part 3, containing the necessary rules of reading and speaking. This reader became one of Webster's more popular works and under another title and went through dozens of editions. This first edition is quite scarce. We haven't been able to track down any previous sales records, and only 8 libraries report having copies. But this copy has a variant which appears to be otherwise unknown, a really embarrassing typo. Yes, look closely and you will see that this title page promises instruction in the English language. It's just a dropped letter, but it couldn't have happened in a worse place. This is Lot 427, a 16th century Mexican power of attorney document. We usually think of the first American printing as being the base Psalms book, which was produced in 1640, but printing was done in Mexico much earlier. A handy book by David Shevchik tracks down a lot of this early printing. Some of them were full books, some of them were printed forms like this. This power of attorney form was completed in manuscript in 1590 and was probably printed not long before. That makes it a really early American imprint. One interesting feature from Shevchik's book is the initial capital S that we see here in the upper left corner. These early Mexican printers seem to have passed down the block from generation to generation, sometimes using it right side up, sometimes, as we see here, upside down. This block also appeared in the first known example of Mexican printing in 1564. We're offering almost 100 other lots of Latin Americana to conclude this sale, including an important letter on the proposed annexation of the Dominican Republic, and books on Chile, Colombia, Cuba, Mexico, some of them quite scarce. This has just been a small sampling of the wide variety of material that we have in this Americana sale. As I mentioned, it's a large sale. We have 475 lots. There's something in here for everybody. If you're interested, I'd encourage you to come down to Swann Auction Galleries for the preview, or order a copy of the catalog, or look at the catalog online. You can see it on our website. And we hope you'll join us on June 5th for the auction.